Wow. Hey guys, this is Hyperion. This is a plugin by Wavesequencer. You can get it on Traction. Link is down below. And it is a super cool, super powerful plugin that we're going to check out tonight on tonight's live stream. I'm Vulture Culture. I like synths. And we can go in here and see a bunch of the patches, but we can also just click on these and actually get the... All right, how do we do it? The way to do it, get in here. Here we are. And you guys can start to see what we have going on. So what's so incredible about this plugin is it's fully modular and embraces sort of a modular synthesis ethos in the digital realm, where all of our individual components are here that we can put together. And then on the left side of the screen, we have all of the layers. So each one of these is different too, which is pretty incredible. And yeah, it's just, it couldn't be a more interesting thing. And what I loved about this first patch here is it reminded me a lot of the Midnight Run preset off the Wavestation. It's incredibly thick and a lot of motion going on. I mean, it's pretty crazy. And it reminds me of the Midnight Run preset, which David Wise used on the Donkey Kong Country 2 soundtrack, which is one of my favorite examples of the Wavestation. And of course, what's cool about Hyperion is the creator, Wavesequencer, is a huge fan of the Wavestation. That's actually how we connected. So big shout outs. Thank you for sending this over to me to check out. It's a lot of fun. Aquatic Borealis says, make sure to play with the mod wheel. Yeah, so on this one, it's bound to macro 1, but there's a lot going on. Yes, the rhythmic element with this is super cool. Aquatic says, Wavesequencer makes very good patches. The multi-layered patches are more complex, but there's tons of excellent single-layer patches too. I'm glad you know the preset, JRPG. Okay, so why don't we check out a few. So Aquatic, if you have any favorites, let me know. There's a couple of others that I messed with this one earlier for a little video I posted to Instagram, which was pretty neat. I love that little dive there at the end there. So obviously a Vangelis type sound, but also what's interesting about it was when I was looking at it earlier, the actual Blade Runner-y type stuff is not where the resonance is coming in, because if we go look at the filter here real quick, you can see on the right hand side that the resonance is at 0. So it's actually this flange FM bass, I think, is what's causing that. Although actually I don't see the mono after. Oh yeah, here we are. So this is routed to data smoother, which is probably doing some sort of slew effect, because I've noticed that when I press my finger on the key here, on some of the patches, and I even modified a couple of patches before the stream just to see how it worked, the aftertouch is very responsive, very fast. So it's kind of nice to slow that down a bit. And then that's moving into the level and the operator FM over here. What is this? Modulation depth. So you can see that we can kind of follow. This cable is the mono aftertouch coming from my MIDI controller, going into a data smoother, and then getting spit out here and coming in to the modulation depth. So that's that yellow text right there at the top tells you what's going on. And, yeah, so that's a way that you can kind of figure out what's going on. I'm sure for some people this might look pretty simple, and I'm sure for some people this might be like, what the hell am I looking at? So why don't we check out a couple new other patches, that way we can just hear what this thing can sound like, and then we'll get into the programming, which will be a lot of fun. Oh, Aquatic is saying you have to clear out the layer patches. FM wave sequencer pad. Okay, so by name we should be able to go to FM. Why don't I see that? FM wave sequencer pad? Am I stupid? I mean, I am stupid. That's a silly question. I know there was some wave sequency stuff down here. Wave sequencer. So there's like this one wavestation version 2. So the thing that's interesting about this synth and what really pulled me towards it is I love the wavestation. It's my favorite vintage synth possibly. However, it has a fatal flaw, which is almost impossible to program, or, you know, sometimes people will say you can program it, but I don't really think that's a thing. So I've always been interested in a way to do wave sequencing, and wavestate native. We tried that out on the channel. Of course, wavestate's coming out with wavestate SE and all of that, so it's an exciting way to get into it. But to me, the wavestate 4, as amazing as it is, it doesn't really sound like the wavestation, whereas we can decide maybe by the end of the stream what we think this sounds like. Yeah, so if the complexity isn't obvious already, love me some mezcal. It's quite possibly, it's pretty incredible. So wave sequence ether combination sounds great. Love a little bit of that devil ether. Machine Storm says, my nether regions are undulating with joy. I love that. Let's see here. Wave sequencer, welcome to the stream. How's it going? It just got started here, so you can help me out through there. Wave sequencers is for loading single layer patches to replace all existing ones. Load from the patch list viewer from the Combi browser, but enable include single layer patches. Ambient Machine, welcome to the stream. How's it going? It's one of the reasons I sold all of my hardware synths. That's pretty incredible. Got me some Arnold Palmers. I love that. My friend Ryan, who's always here in the chat, he met Arnold Palmer. Love a lovely walk in the woods. Very beautiful. Very beautiful. So, Aquatic, what was that patch you were looking for? FM? Oh, I'm trying to see. FM wave sequence pad. Trying to find that one, but I didn't find it earlier. So if there's any other really good ones, you guys let me know. Let's try FM Darkness. That sounds nice. Love a good dark. And by the way, I'm such a pad slut. Massive. A lot of fun, that one. Let's see what else we have here. Is there a randomize? I love a good randomize. We could always just do it by just going by different tags here. Let's see. Wet and phasey. That'll be good for my friend Jim. String choir pad. Try and really crank that. Really beautiful. Shout outs to Jim. Let's try a couple more of these. Let's see here. Ridiculous pad sounds like fun, warm, dreamy, and calm. I'm looking at the... Oh, we're back to the stars that match the background. That's quite nice. Added a little aftertouch there that's making that happen. Oh, aquatic, was it a single layer patch? I misunderstood. I understand. Let's see here. So if I go here and then let's go through the, for loading single patches to replace all existing ones, load from the patch list view from the Combi browser. So we're in the Combi browser, I think. And then, but enable include single layer patches. So let's see here. I don't need to refresh anything. Load patch. I need to go in here. Not that worried about it, but we'll just try it out real quick. Well, we can try clearing all the layers. There we go. And then, let's see, can we pull them up here? So are we only looking at yeah, so right now we're only looking at combination ones. And then, there's the button we were looking for. And then we should be able to find FM. There we go by the name here. And we can maybe find that patch. Echo verbs. Love that. Let's try that out next. FM. Wow, there's so much in here. It's pretty incredible the amount of patches you have. Wave sequence pad 2. This is what I'm excited for. Dreamy, cold, evolving. Dreamy and cold. That is my name on that, sir. I finally figured it out, wave sequencer. Sorry about that. Yeah, so this shit's pretty intense. Let's see here. Going back to FM. Where's these wave sequence patches? What I'm looking for. I want to try all of these actually, because the wave sequencing is what I'm really interested in. Just because that's the trouble with the wavestation, right? That was the aftertouch. Very spooky. And then we could just go here and jump around, I suppose, and try this one out. Yeah, pretty incredible. So I've definitely got to try out some of the FM wave sequencing. Mike, welcome to the stream. How's it going? Welcome to the party. Let's see here. I'm very excited to have you here, Mike. Wave Sequencer says, Aftertouch is automatically mapped to mod wheel if not explicitly patched. That's a new feature. That's awesome. I've actually been exploring that with some of the synth plugins I'm working on developing now, and I quite like that, where I'm not a big mod wheel guy. Like, I like Aftertouch a lot more, especially on pads, because you kind of like sometimes want to sink in on a pad, and it's great when Aftertouch is there. So I really like that as a design philosophy, Wave Sequencer. So let's see here. What if I go and we get rid of that? right? If I remove the layer, or what is this? Clear all layers. Okay, press OK to confirm. So now we go in here, turn this off. Wait, how do we get in here? All right, so this is a blank patch. I believe I have a blank patch. Dubstation says, for drone pads, I like thin and glassy, leaves a lot of space in the mix to paint on top. As long as there's not too much digital resonance, I'm an analog snob. That would be the interesting thing, is if we can get some digital stuff to sound more analog. You know what I mean? Like, or at least the filter part of it. I'm with you, Dub, where it's like, I like a nice digital ass oscillator. You know, hybrid synths are some of my favorites, but when it comes to the filter, I want that warmth. So anyways, we're going to just try to put together a synthesizer real quick. And unlike a normal plugin that you might open up and you have an init saw going, if I play the keys, you could see them in the lower right there. We don't hear anything, and that's because there's nothing going on yet. So we need to actually put some nodes in here. And so this core commonly used one section here is kind of useful. Wave sequencer, feel free to jump in and help me out if there's anything that's I'm getting wrong. But I'm going to start by dragging in this note input node here, or just double clicking it to create it. I'm also going to grab this oscillator. I created 2 of them, which actually works out. We're going to load in a filter. What else do we need? A levels and pan mixer, audio out, LFO, and 2 ADSRs. That looks good. We could add a chorus or a reverb, but right now, let's not do that. Well, interesting, there's an effects audio out. So that's cool. We'll get into that. So you can see right now, we've just created a bunch of nodes. You know what else I'm going to do is, let's go here and real quick, enable it so that you guys can see my cursor. That will probably help this stream a bit. So we're going to just drag these around a little bit, just so we can kind of create a basic flow here. Let's see. And we're going to... Oh, it's just a simple sine LFO. That's kind of cool. There's all sorts of different stuff. There's polyphonic LFOs versus global LFOs. Y'all already know about that type of stuff, so I'm not even going to try to pretend like I understand more than you guys. But this is going to be a very quick journey into how to create a synth. So again, unlike a normal, just sort of vanilla bitch ass plugin, this one we have to do a little bit of work to get started, but that's kind of part of the fun. Wave Sequencer says there are some init patches too, but it'd be good to try from an empty patch. Yeah. So you could load up an init patch, but where's the fun in that? This is a modular playground. So that's a way to think about it too. Is when you think about sandbox, they call them sandbox games or open world games. I think Skyrim was the first really popular one. If this is the first time you're watching a video on a plugin like this, we are not opening it up and just messing with some knobs. We have to wire this synthesizer from the inside out. But luckily, it's really quick and easy to do. I'm going to try to make this happen. Ambient Machine says, this Diva Zebra, Omnisphere, OBE, etc. It's all I need. I sold my profits, OBs, and Moogs. That hurts for me to hear, but at the same time, I'm very happy that you have a workflow that works for you. And Hyperion looks to be potentially a very cool plugin. So what we're going to start with is we have this notes input. So that's what's coming from my keyboard here, or however you're triggering it, right? So we need to run this F to the F. So frequency here and frequency here, right? It's pretty simple. And we're going to drag it to both oscillators. Then what else we have? We got trigger. So what that's doing is every time I hit a note, that's going to send a little micro pulse to the oscillator, let it know, okay, now go over here, right? What else do we need? Velocity. We don't need to worry about that right now. Key mapping, a couple of other things. We got poly aftertouch and channel pressure, mono aftertouch. What else do we have? MIDI CCs, global any keys down trigger. So what that could be useful for is getting around any sort of legato behavior happening in the synthesizer. So right now, if I play anything, you'll notice there's still nothing, but we saw some triggers, so stuff is starting to happen. The bottom of each of these modules is the outputs. So we actually can use the output, but we also have frequency here, which I'm assuming is for some modulation stuff if we wanted to do that. And frequency mapping. Not going to pretend to understand what that means. So we're going to go from out to in, right? So penis into vagina, that's how that works, right? And then we're going to go from the audio out into the level pan mixer and then out into the audio out, right? So this so far seems pretty straightforward. When I start playing notes, things will not be good. So I'm just letting you know that now because we have not fully wired this thing up. But we should be able to start hearing something because we've got the notes coming in, going to that oscillator in the upper left, going into the filter, going into level. So I'm not hearing anything, so something I didn't do right. We'll get there. Let's go ahead and attach an ADSR here to the level. So ADSR2, we'll call that our, let's see here. So what do we have? Envelope trigger. So we need to run the trigger into the ADSRs. We have our different knobs. And you'll notice that this is very intelligently laid out. So you can see on the right-hand side here, whatever we're fucking around with, that will just, sort of show up. And so we don't really have to route control knobs or anything to the ADSR, although if I hover over the A, we do get a knob here that I can actually play with. Love playing with a knob, and you can see that being mirrored on the right by my webcam there, what's going on. So it's very flexible in the sense that, and intuitive. Okay, so we have that. Let's see what else is going on in the chat here. Could have enough patches to fill a Sarlacc pit or two. That is for sure means Machine Storm. Let's see here. Agent, welcome to the stream. How's it going? Staying for the sex ed, yeah. You can also connect multiple audio sources to the audio inputs now, too. That's super cool. Dubstation says, penis can go into a lot of things. I love modular. That is the true joy of modular synthesis, isn't it? Mike says, not going to lie, I'm pretty ignorant to soft synths. This makes me want to seriously learn them. This one's cool because unlike a lot of other synthesizers that are trying to capture the glory of hardware synths, this is a... not that this one can't do some pretty cool analog stuff. There's already some things that we can talk about that helps it get that more analog sound. But it's more just that we can really do stuff here that would not be possible with any of those legendary synths that we all lust after. Wait till I tell you about or circuits. I think I'm missing one letter there, my friend. So let's see what I've messed up here. So we can open the cutoff of the filter, and this should be in and out. Oscillator should be going. Pitch. I don't know, wave sequencer, if you're seeing what I'm doing wrong here. Should be some stuff going into the filter. Can I cause this to self-resonant? No. And this is going into level and pan. Level 1 is up, all the way up, so I should be hearing that. It's going into the out, and then the audio out here. The level on the audio out. Here we go. Okay, that was where I was off. Audio out needed the level all the way up, and you'll notice we're just hearing a sine wave, and as I play different notes, what we have going on here is because we have not applied an ADSR to the amplifier, the notes are just ringing on forever. So if you wanted to create a drone synthesizer, for instance, this would be the way you could do it, where there's just nothing ever coming in and out. So yeah. Let's see. Mike says he wants to drop 3 hits of acid. This is the stream for you. Agent says, afraid I can't stay. Well, have a wonderful night, my friend. Thank you for dropping by. Was there a bit of a stutter? I don't think... Okay, so on my end, I haven't dropped any frames, which is good. Oh, okay. Dubstation says, no, you're not. Or it's a type of logic used in modular. Okay, so I'm going to have you explain some things to me later on, Dub. ADSR out pin needs to go to an audio out level in the input plug. So let's see here. Let's see. Do out, ready state. Envelope current output level needs to go to audio out. Yeah, so that should tritate. If I turn this down and see what happens now. is that the right... I don't think that's the right cable. So if I mess up the wiring, we can right-click and disconnect that. No, that looks right. Let's try that again. See what I did wrong there. ADSR 2. Level all the way up. Sustain all the way down. Current envelope. Oh, maybe in here we should turn the level all the way down. See what happens. There we go. We have made the synthesizer work. So if this isn't obvious, guys, in the level and pan mixer, I need to turn this all the way down, and the positive envelope, the little plus sign here, is routed to the level input here. Feel free to ask questions if I'm going too fast. But before, because that's adding to the value, when the level was all the way up, it's already at 100%. So we needed to bring that level down so that the ADSR could fall to 0, which is where we want that to go, right? So we've created now just a basic sine oscillator synth, right? Very quiet synth, by the way. We could go into the oscillator and change this to a saw real quick. We'll go to digital saw. All right, and we'll make sure. So we have both of these oscillators in. For now, I'm just going to disconnect one so we can just kind of set the synth up right, and then we'll add the other one in to start to create some stuff here. So we've just got a quick little saw pluck. Super cool. Let's get this second ADSR involved with the filter. So we need to run the envelope output here into the cutoff of the filter, and that's going to mean we're going to need to turn that cutoff down, right, for the ADSR to do anything, just like on a regular synth. And we can control the ADSRs here and maybe put them both up so that they have about... kind of create like a little brassy type of sound. And we have a few different filter types here. I noticed the OB low pass. I'm assuming that stands for Oberheim. So that kind of makes sense for this sort of oscillator shape that we're creating. Sounds pretty good, actually, even though we're using a digital saw. Let's increase the resonance a bit and see how that sounds. In this case, we don't need that much resonance for this type of sound. And let's add some saturations. This is really cool that we can just drive the filter harder. Let's see here. Wave Sequencer says, this works, but it'll be better for the CPU load to connect the audio out L input pin, since then the voices won't constantly consume CPU time. All right, so let me make sure I have to reread that. The audio out L input pin. What is the audio out L input pin? So here's the L input pin I'm assuming you're talking about, but what is the audio out you're looking for me to have? Is it from... No, I don't think it's that. Anyways, what I'd be interested to know, Wave Sequencer, is the way the saturation is implemented. Is it like an analog synth where you are feeding more of the signal through the filter, therefore making it a sharper cutoff? Or is it more like a distortion drive stage after the filter? The audio out node amp, let's see here. And let's see. And then, so this level pin here, what should I connect that to? You connected to the level and pan mixer, not the audio out. Oh, so you're saying I should just use that directly to the... so I could disconnect it from here and run it over here? Is that what you guys are saying? And then I need to... What do I need to do? Like that? Is that what we're trying to do? Pre-filter drive, and the filter has distortion built in, post-gain reduction. Yeah, it sounds really good. When you crank the saturation... you get that sound. Let's add some release to this because we're getting a little bit. So we've already got something that's in the neighborhood of that sort of Oberheim-y type thing. Let's go ahead and attach. Let's go back to this first oscillator and check out some of these other shapes real quick. So I'm going to increase the filter cutoff. Won't be able to hear anything while it's assigned, so yeah. Let's go ahead and check out a couple of these. So we got sine waves. Love a good sine wave. Triangle wave. That is a very clean triangle. I was just auditioning a triangle wave on one of these analog synths, and it was very nasty compared to that. Very clean. Moving right along here to Digi Square. Definitely a Zelda sound anytime you hear a triangle wave. Soft Square. It's a little bit nicer on the ears. I like that. Saw Square. I'm assuming you can morph between these with the shape knob. Oh, this is interesting. No, not exactly. It's more like maybe a sawtooth and a square wave at the same time. Wave Sequencer says you can also do negative drive and it increases resonance. My mind just exploded. That's pretty crazy. There's also a multi-mode filter with low pass to high pass and other combinations. Yes, I saw that. We will get into some of that if we have time. I just want to keep it kind of simple at first to show that it doesn't have to be super crazy. We basically just need note input into oscillators, into a filter, into the mixer and audio out, a couple of ADSRs. We got an LFO here. Basically, this is your typical vintage synthesizer. It's only this complicated. Maybe you throw like one or two other things in there. So we have this shape knob for all of these sounds. What's interesting about them I've noticed this. I don't know if this is true for all of them, Wave Sequencer, but it seems like a lot of them don't have exactly pulse width modulation. You can see how this extra peak creeps in here, guys. So here's how this one sounds. So now we have like a phased, little bit of a canceled square sound. And then as we keep going, we get that peak. But it's almost like a narrow pulse wave mixed with a square wave in the sense that we still retain some low end, which usually would drop out on pulse width modulation. So I'm assuming there's something else going on under the hood there. Buzz wave. That is good for... It's a really cool like FM-y type sound. Get really low for some bassline stuff. It sounds nasty. Digital saw. I think that sounds really fat. I mean, I'm running all of these through a distorted filter, so if I dial that back, you retain more of the high end, right? I really like running that saturation. I guess we could try the negative saturation. Yeah, I was assuming it was wave folding or something like that because you get a kind of a different sound. We got S-saw. Did I bring that to about center? Yeah. Very thick sounding. J-saw. Poly 1. Okay, so these are super interesting too. I'm assuming that's some sort of wave folding. But what's great about these waveforms is they're almost like little cheat code FM sounds where you could route an ADSR. I mean, why don't I do that real quick? So if I just route that to shape here and bring this down, right? Now, see how that ADSR is causing that to happen? So if we go in here and we increase the level, we can create a little pluck. So this is a super fast way, super intuitive way to kind of have like, you know, those really deliciously cheesy 2-operator FM sounds from the 80s that we love on this channel. You can get that very fast with some of these poly sounds. So I'm going to just keep moving on here so you can hear that. But I'll leave the ADSR on so you can kind of hear. I'll increase the ADSR and the decay a bit so you can really hear the sweep here. Now, if you wanted a more like E-piano type sound, you would want to have a really fast decay. Not the best one for an E-piano sound. Moving right along to Poly 3. Yeah, that sounds great. And of course, if we added some attack to this, we could start getting into Dubstation Zero's glassy, you know, some really cool stuff here. Really fun type of sounds. In fact, I might even just leave that on while we're demoing these. Poly 4. Poly 5. Oh, yes, and of course I missed unison here. I guess the reason is I was assuming I would use another oscillator to create some detune, as that's kind of like the vintage synth thing, but so we can add voices here. 4, and we can detune them further. So now we've got that like DX5 type sound. Oh yeah. So we're really right now just messing with this oscillator section. The filter's not doing anything, and you could really create some beautiful sounds here. Poly 6. Kind of a vocally kind of character to it. And you can see this wonderful waveform display. Everything about this is just really cool. We got some shapes that would be useful. Sample and hold, for instance, as if you wanted to use this as a low frequency oscillator, right? You could use that. So anyways, let's just go back to a regular saw for now. And remove that cable here and just have a regular saw. But you can hear that we've still got quite a bit of character there. So now if we bring the cutoff down, in this case we could bring the attack down, bring the level down a bit. So now we're definitely in, you know, sort of we're in the territory of Jupiter 8000 type trance sound. So why don't we take the oscillator of the second oscillator here out, and we're going to pick that digital square and do the same thing, just really stack up some unison here between these two oscillators. And it can sound really great. Right? So we kind of have a basic synthesizer here. We could apply the LFO here. We could add some frequency to it, and we could apply it to all sorts of things. We could apply it to oscillator pitch, for instance, and then just bring the level way down. Because right now it's crazy, but we could, you know, create some vibrato. kind of take us into that territory. We could disconnect that and we could route that into the filter cutoff, right? And now that same vibrato could be affecting the cutoff frequency of the filter. Sounds super great. I have totally been missing the chat. Sorry about that. Mike says, well, I'm going to leave you on to keep me company while I'm reassembling my studio. Read the loft no one wanted. Sir, let's see here. Machine Storm says, love me some wave folding and rectifying. Dubstation says, drive diminishes resonance because they both have virtually the same effect, definitely prevalent in the MS-20. So would negative drive be like a negative unipolar audio rate mod that accentuates Q? I'm going to let Wave Sequencer answer that one. I think that one went right over my fucking head. We could also double modulate things. So for instance, we got the level here of the audio out. So why don't we take the output and run it into that as well? So now what we should be hearing is filter and amplifier modulation to get an almost vibraphone type sound. I can't tell if that's actually working. Oh, it is, I think. But anyways, that was just kind of to show that you could do it. More than anything. Yeah, so anyways, so we've kind of got like a basic sound set up here. Why don't we kind of dial this back or move backwards for a bit? So I'm going to disconnect that from the ADSR. I'm also going to open up the filter all the way. We got a couple of things. We could also do a stereo offset. So let me just show that real quick. You see how we have these separate peaks here on the... This is super cool because now all of a sudden we've got a very wide stereo type sound. We got a binaural synth sound. Sounds super cool. Just want to point that out. What else? We got the slopes. We can control how sharp that filter drops off. Let's delete these. So we can just right click and we could either disable these nodes. So why don't we do that for now? And we'll just forget about them over here. And let's create another, and we'll go to voice generators here. So we've actually got a bunch of different stuff. Let me move this in so you guys can see what's going on here. I need to drink more alcohol. We need some more mezcal up in this motherfucker. Can I get some scum cheers in the chat? We getting fucked up tonight. I love it. What do you guys think of not Wave Sequencer personally? What do you guys think of Hyperion so far? I'm having some fun. It's a cool synthesizer for sure. It is vast though, so don't let it be too intimidating at first because you can create some really cool stuff here. Quadix says there's an oscilloscope node type in there too, in the utility nodes, but that's for monitoring data. For seeing the oscillator waveform, you can click the eye icon on the tile bar of the oscillator edit panels. Oh, okay. So if I go back over here, see how there's this little eye here? So we can actually see the waveform really nice up here. So that's pretty cool. 3D mode? Wow. 3D. Anyways, that's a thing you can do. Let's add some other things. So we have a, let's see what this says. Mono oscillator with multiple waves, which I believe is what we were messing with. Oh, stereo oscillator. So if you want that, that's super cool. We have wave sequence, so we're going to fuck with this in a second. We also have 4 operator FM wave sequence, so this is super cool. We've got some CarPlus strong-based physical modeling type sounds, so that's really neat. Flute model, designed to be used monophonically, but can be used with more than one voice enabled. A sample player and sound fonts if we want to do that thing. Real quick, I want to try out the flute model. Just because I haven't had the luxury of having that type of shit in my life before. Let's see what we have here. Pitch, fine tune, We have some controls here, but it looks like we don't need to run the trigger in, which is super interesting. Let's run that into the filter and see. What do we need to control here on the flute model? Got this nice breath. What do we need to do to get this to actually create some sound? Because we got the frequency coming in. Fine tune, pan, breath, noise, jet, end, vibration rate. Am I missing something, wave sequencer here? Needs a breath input. Can the breath input come from the trigger? Oh, wow. Wow, that's ripping. Wow. Oh, I see. We could attach it to the ADSR. I'm not maybe using that correctly. So let's use ADSR 2, right? Because that's what was running to the... try that into breath here. I think... It's a little out of tune, so I think I might have the tricky node to tune, to be honest. Okay, so it's not just me. That's as long as that's the case. So why don't we just mess with that at a later date? Let's go open up wave sequence. This is super cool. So same idea here. We basically have something that looks a lot like the oscillators from before, right? Because we can pick wave shapes and stuff. We got all the same stuff. Pitch, fine tune, pan, width. But now we have this extra section here where we can actually set up sort of this sequence of waves as they come out. And this is, of course, for me, kind of what brought me in on this synth is wanting to have something that can kind of fill the hole in my heart, the wavestation-sized hole in my heart, the God hole. I love a good hole. So let's kick on some unison just for everything, right? And we will go pull up like poly. Let's get some cool FM-y type sounds going on in here. So I want to take it immediately into the vintage digital territory, and to do that, we have this nice crush button here. So it's a little bit crushing to bring the resolution down. I kind of like it maybe around 4. So we're really kind of moving in that Casio sort of territory. Actually can sound very beautiful just like that. So we have this table start, table end, edit step, and start position. So what we're going to do is table start is going to be at 0, right? This could be at all sorts of things, but we want to start at 0 because we just want to start on the first part of the sound, right? We wanted to, just real quick again, with the eye, we could actually see what's going on with this. But for me, it's fine just to use our ears. Table end. Why don't we set this to 3, right? So it's going to be 0, 1, 2, and 3. So for 4 steps, real simple wave sequence here. And then we can control which step we're editing. So you'll see that it jumps as I move here, 2, 3. It changes what we're looking at. And then this knob is what we're hearing, right? So you can see that sort of blending in there. Stop me again if I'm going too fast. I'm assuming you guys kind of know what wave sequencing is, right? So right now we're hearing this sound. Right? Super cool. Why don't we go edit step 1, and to hear it, we need to put in a value of 25, right? Because otherwise, if I'm here, even though we're editing step 1 here, the start position's still at the beginning. So as I sweep this, you can hear what's happening. So we need to put that to 0.25 here, right? Now we're back to just a sine wave, right? So that's super cool. Let's make that more interesting, though, by picking another poly one and pulling in some different shape here. Let's add some unison. Really nice vocal thing. Let's add some bit crushing. That's giving me that sort of Yamaha SY77 wavestation-y type vibe that I live for, but it's a little thin, so this is where it gets a lot of fun. We can, for each one of these, we can adjust the pan, the pitch, so why don't we bring the pitch down? Yeah. I just want to make sure there's an octave. Why don't we actually bring it up? Will 0.5 give us a perfect fifth? Yeah, you can hear how we actually have a fifth there. So that's super cool. I love that that's tuned intelligently, so we just get a fifth. It just works. We can even apply a little bit of panning here. So if you're listening in headphones, it's not dead in the center there. Top 4 knobs are actually control the total wave sequence. Never fucking mind. Sorry, so we should transpose it here then. There we go. Cool. Fun. Let's go ahead and move on to the next step here. And then we're going to put start position to 0.5. There we go. Let's make sure. It actually seems like 0.5. We hear a little bleed. So I just want to hear just that oscillator and pull up another one. This one maybe we'll do where there's some, we'll add some unison. What's interesting, you really hear the crushing on this one. And then maybe the final position here. Why don't we add just another one of these polys? We'll add just a nice -2 here, right? So just keeping it interesting. So we've come up with 4 different sounds, and now as we move the start position knob, you can see it's doing some serious, we'll go open this up, turn 3D mode off, and you can see we are getting some serious wavetable action here, which is super great. We'll just leave it at. Right? So that's great, but how do we control that? How do we actually get it to be wave sequency? How do we get it to actually sound like the wave station? Well, what we could do is just take that sine wave that we had earlier and use that to control the, where is it on this motherfucker? The start position, the X coordinate here. So now this LFO sine, we increase the level all the way, and the start position here at a 0.5. We might not need to increase the level all the way. We might be able to get away with just half, right? Yeah, so half is actually better. So you can see down here what's happening is the sequence is starting there, and then we just bring that down so we get a slower wave sequence. And we could get something very pretty, hopefully. Super cool. Make sure we have enough. With that fifth in there, we're getting a lot going on. So if I go to edit step here, we could just bring that up an octave. We could bring that back to 0 and bring the last one down an octave, let's say. So that might give us a more useful or, you know, easy to process sound. Oh, since the LFO is polyphonic, each voice will be out of phase unless you trigger the LFO. So yeah, I was actually going to get to that. One of the things is on the wavestation, it's not an LFO, it's just the wave sequences are polyphonic, so it makes it really hard to play. Because if I play with a little roll into my notes, you can hear there's a lot of chaos in that sound. As soon as I apply the trigger to the LFO, it's going to reset that LFO every time I press the keys. And it makes it monophonic, which is actually, in this case, most of the time with synthesis, you probably want polyphonic stuff, right, when it comes to aftertouch and things. But when it comes to wave sequences, I think it's much more useful to have monophonic ones. Oh, yeah. Hey, how's it going, Mom? Packing her crystal in China? What were you helping my ex-girlfriend pack for? Okay, global LFO will keep all the voices in sync even if you play the keys at different times. Right, and you can hear that versus, again, if I just disable this real quick, you can hear what a dramatic difference that makes. So if I play like pretty close to perfect time, you'll hear it's pretty close, but as soon as I add a little roll to my notes, it really can start to fall apart. Yay, how's it going, Mighty Pinto, my friend, the retro gamer that I like to watch stream? How are you doing? Yeah, so that's kind of chaotic, and then as soon as I attach the trigger in there, it really locks it in nice and smoothly. Yeah, so it's very cool. Now, let's see here. We can actually even save wave sequences if we want. Is there any way to copy and paste nodes? That would be an interesting question. And then another question I had for you, this was something I couldn't figure out on my own wave sequencer, is this is really good for the sorts of sounds that are, you know, the wavestation's known for, where it's like the sweeping pad type stuff. But the wavestation's also known for the sort of choppy bassline stuff, like a la Ski Jam and stuff. And I've just said the word stuff like 47 times in that sentence. And I was curious, is there a way to do, you know, this is a 4-step wave sequence here. Is there a way to do a 4-step LFO or something like that? I actually found a workaround for this when I was exploring. This is really terrible, so I'm embarrassed to even show this, but here we go. Let's see here. Where was it? Per voice data modulator. So there's an LFO. There's this custom LFO. So if I open this up real quick, you can see, if I pull this in here, you can actually draw in. Is it on this? I think you can like draw in. Yeah, you can draw in your own LFO shape here, right? So if you wanted to do like a sine wave, it would be something like this, right? That's a very wonky sine wave. But what I was trying to do actually was to do 4 steps, was like this, and like this, and then like this. You see what I'm doing here? How stupid this is, but like this is how my mind works. I'm like, I'm just gonna draw it in. So instead of using this LFO to control that, why don't we use this one? And what we should hear is that now it should step through those voices. Let's see how it sounds. Irish Musico, welcome to the stream. How's it going, my friend? Yeah. Okay. So I'm not that far off. You actually want to use a sample and hold LFO or a custom LFO. Okay. So that's kind of cool that I wasn't completely stupid. What is going on, Irish Music Co? So yeah, this is actually a way that you could create those sorts of famous wavestation-y sounds where, you know, down here. Oh, wait, the custom LFO. Oh, it's still polyphonic right now. I thought I had... So even though I have the trigger running in here, it still seems like it's moving polyphonically. I could be just fooling myself. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Hard to tell. Yeah. So anyways, it's super neat, right? I mean, just look at how great this is. So there is a global LFO, but so I guess what I'm asking is, can a custom LFO be triggered so that it acts like a global LFO, or am I kind of stuck with one or the other? Which is a very minor thing. I mean, it's not different thing. Or it's not a big deal. Aquatic says, I love the simple graphical representation of the nodes. Makes it easy to look at, not too much thrown at you at once, and you can still get the details when you click on a node. Yeah, it's great because it sort of has a very intuitive workflow, and even stuff just like the colors. I know it's silly, but the colors make it very easy for your brain to parse what's going on quickly and get the shit done. So yeah, it's super cool. So anyways, we've kind of got a nice little thing here. Why don't we apply this to the cutoff here? Bring this down a bit. Let's remove this trigger here. Yeah, so we've got the LFO adding a little movement to the filter, and we've kind of created more of a pad type shape with the ADSR here. ADSR2, let's make that a little bit of a pad as well. Very nice. Okay, so let's check out some of the effects. I was very interested in that. Now, might be stupid here, but what's the best way to do effects? Because it kind of seems like the effects over here, you might even want to have someplace else, like it's a separate audio. So I see audio in, aux return. So for instance, could I just, if I wanted some distortion, right? Let's just add some distortion. Could I add that between here? Could I just delete this, run it into the distortion, and run it out? No, I don't think I could. It looks like not the right type. Yeah. Okay, so I'm discovering this myself. So let's go audio out, and then let's see here. Always need an effects audio out node. Okay, so commonly used nodes, effects audio out. So let's drop that in. Let's add a chorus, an echo, and a reverb for the hell of it, right? That makes sense. So we have an audio effects out. Yo, what's up? Thank you for the $6.66 donation. I appreciate that. The donation reads, congratulations on reaching 6,000. Thank you, Mom. I appreciate you. So do I need to hook this up? How does this work? Do we need to run the out into the in of the chorus, and then the chorus into the audio effects audio out, and then looking at this, let's see what we have. Is that going through the chorus? I should have paid attention. Yes, it is. So this is the sound dry. Immediately reminds me of the Roland D50 chorus. It has sort of a similar tone to it. Let's try a different mode. That one's really... That one's very nice and very lush. All right, so we'll try that. Now, if we run that into... Let's just disconnect this. That is one
seriously perverted bitch.
Thank you, Stream Elements. Run that into this echo, and then we can start to apply and see what we get here. So... Oh, nice. Now we can start getting some space. We can control that delay and slow it down a little bit. Nice. Turn the feedback down a bit. We don't need it to go so crazy. Maybe increase the dampening. I like a really nice dark echo. So that's pretty cool. We can just disconnect this and throw this reverb in here. So this is where it starts getting, you know, we're starting to get nasty with it. So let's check out this hype reverb. Let's turn down for now. We'll turn down the echoes just so we hear the reverb purely. Very bright. Let's increase the dampening a bit, a little pre-decay. Increase the size, right? High cut's probably good. Low cut, we can bring that down. Modulation depth, increase that. Increase the dry wet. Just try to get real huge for a second. Size, width. Am I missing a time knob? Is that as big as it gets? That doesn't seem right. Seems like it could be longer, unless it needs to be here. Maybe if I remove the dampening. I guess that's what it is you lose the high end, but you also lose the time as you go. So we need some dampening, though, otherwise it sort of takes it out of that territory. Oh, try dense verb? Okay, cool. Let's just get this the hell out of here and go check out this dense reverb. Yeah, let's try this out. That's what I'm interested in is, you know, big. Daddy likes it thick. I've got a sickness for the thickness. Let's check this one out. That sounds really nice. Let's increase the dampening. It's still bright for my ears. This is sort of... This reverb reminds me a lot of... I mean, of course, we just bring the high cut down, I suppose. That's probably what I should do. There we go. That's starting to take us. With the high cut where it was at, it's almost like if the 80s could have accomplished what it wanted, which was those super bright reverb sounds. Yeah, that's much better. Very beautiful. Okay, so we can add a little echo and a little dense verb in. We can dial that back so we have some of that. Yo! Hypothesis 13, thank you for subscribing to the channel. I'd like to highlight the fact that we have barely really... We're just talking about one patch so far, right? What are some other things we could do here? We got a vector mixer if we want to get our Prophet VS on, right? What else do we have here? Love a good phaser. Got a pitch shifter. Okay, I've got a question. I know we can create feedback loops pretty quickly here, so this could go really badly. Some of y'all already know what I want to do. I guess I actually don't. I'm just going to do this. Run the out into the end of this pitch shifter. I'm going to try to create a shimmer reverb. So in the pitch shifter, let's bring that up an octave. Let's keep it nice and simple, right? And then run the output into... I feel like we should run the output into an amplifier. This is going to go out of hand quickly. Yeah, add an attenuator. So where would that be? Voice processors, gain? Is it gain? Is that what I should use? I could use global. Doesn't really matter. I'm assuming gain would be fine. There a better though attenuator though. Ooh, we got a granulator. Jesus fucking Christ, this thing's crazy. We'll start with gain until I see somebody say something else. So we'll do output into. Oh, maybe that won't work. Yeah. We need something else than this. Delete this node. Hypothesis, welcome to the stream. How's it going? Liked your wavestation video and just saw that you were streaming. That's super cool that you just watched the wavestation video, because this synth, Hyperion, is made by Wave Sequencer here on YouTube. And we're doing some wave sequencing in this plugin. So I love the wavestation. It's my favorite vintage synthesizer. However, it is a nightmare to program. And I've always wanted to find something that could kind of give me that wavestation-y type sound. But was programmable, and I didn't love the sound of wavestate, or I think it sounds amazing, but it doesn't have that vintage character that I like so much. So let's see, Aquatics says effects nodes. We need to go check that out. So anyways, this is a cool stream for you to be checking out, Hypothesis. Let's see here, attenuator. Looking for an attenuator. Gain pan, got it, boom. So we're gonna run out of the pitch shift, into the gain pan, and then out of that into the in. Let's just take the gain all the way down at first. So what we should be hearing is just the reverb with some echoes too, right? We'll turn it up a bit so we can really hear it. So that's super cool. But what we want is, as we increase the gain here, we should be able to hear some shimmering occur, which is where we get this sort of stacking octaves of the reverb. Maybe? Oh, yep, there it is. I think we're okay because of the dampening. So this is super cool. So we can actually, so we're running out of the output into this pitch shifter, into an attenuator, and then back in to create a shimmer verb. So this is that Brian Eno type sound where instead of it just being a static reverb, we're actually going up in octaves as it goes. So it's like a big sky type sound, you know, the plugin or the pedal that everybody likes. It's also, yeah, definitely. So we're really getting some cool sounds. So I like this wave sequencing sound, but I do think we need a little bit of something else to make this a little bit more of a pleasing thing. So right now, we could start a new layer, but for the fuck of it, why don't we keep it all together? I'm going to enable these nodes. So let's enable these guys. Actually, I'm gonna delete one of them. I'm gonna stay with just one oscillator here. How do I copy these? Select. Can I just copy paste? That doesn't seem to work. So there's some way to do that. It doesn't really matter. Anyways, I'm gonna delete the output here from the oscillator. So I've got the wave sequence going in. I should have the wave sequence going in if I enable it. If I enable it. Yeah, good. But I'm going to disable it for now. I'm going to open up another filter here. Common. We'll do a new filter. And we'll run this oscillator into this filter so we can actually have a different filter and a different ADSR here. So now we have a third ADSR. We're going to run the trigger of this in here, right? And then the positive out of this to the cutoff here. So now we have like a parallel. We got a wave sequence going into one filter, and then we have an oscillator going into another filter, and this output can come in to the mixer down here, and now we have two sources coming into the audio out here. So this enables us to essentially have a completely additional synth voice without having to have another layer, right? Does that all make sense so far? Let me see, I'm caught up. Autumn, have a wonderful night. I'm glad you got Z coming home. Absolutely. Hypothesis says, thanks, Wavestation is my favorite synth as well. Mostly use the VST version now, but I agree Hyperion sounds very similar. Yeah, I think you can get that sort of vintage digital character out of this plugin easier than you can out of Wavestate. It's not that Wavestate, I mean, Wavestate's incredible, but I actually didn't love the layout, and I find this one to be a lot of fun because of the way it's laid out. So anyways, let's go ahead and pick one of the polys here, and I'm going to put the shape to 50 just while I'm auditioning these, and let's see if we can hear everything. And why don't we'll just turn dry wet off all the way. Oh, that's interesting. The way I have it routed, you're hearing the pitch shift. Very interesting. Okay, so I'm just gonna not worry about that right now. Whoa. Right. We'll just turn that down too. So I just want to create something that kind of adds a little bit of sound to that. So we're gonna just kind of create here a ADSR3. We're gonna run that into the shape amount here. So we can kind of create a Dub Station 0 type glassy thing. And now we have that sound we can audition. That's very glassy. I really liked one, actually. I like how it gets out of there, right? Yeah, I liked one, although four is a lot, but I like the thickness of one. Let's get it real thick, right? Very little crushing needed here to get that vintage. Oh yeah. Are we getting into that SY77, you know, in sonic range, maybe a little bit with that sound? I don't know. So now we can enable this wave sequence again. And we could even say, for instance, well, let's see how this sounds, both of these together. So now we've got the FM glassy pad thing. I want to take this whole wave sequence up an octave, right? That sounds good. What I'm going to do is actually drive... This sounds really good. I'm going to drive this first filter a little bit harder so that we can actually get it a little bit thicker, a little fatter. And then in the level, I'm just going to bring it down a little. I'm going to bring it down a lot, actually, because it's just giving it that little extra sauce. Yes. Yes, sir. And that was without the gosh darn thing. Okay, so let me think about this for a second. If I want to do audio effects bus... aux return, receive effects bus stereo audio into a patch point from one of the aux buses. Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. Well, anyways, what we can do now is turn these back on. I was trying to see if there's a way that we could kind of split the reverb out of the chain here. I don't know if there's something that makes sense to that. There's a duplicate button at the top. Oh, I see. I see. Is it up here or over here? Copy selected nodes. There it is. Okay. Thank you. Very stupid. Yes. Aux in is for receive audio from other layers. Yeah. So what I was thinking is just like, is there a way we can split this dense reverb off? That way the pitch shifting is only affecting the reverb, right? We could, because I want to feed the output into the pitch shifter, right? It doesn't sound bad when you have it all together, but, you know, just to make it a little bit more correct. External in, you can sidechain effects from other tracks in your DAW. Yeah, that's what I was thinking that is, which is super cool. So you could key in effects from other things going on. I mean, it's just the power here is crazy. Wave sequencer, I would like to take a second here, as we're coming to the end of the stream here, and we've literally just checked out the smallest amount. I think I checked out like 4 or 5 patches, and then we've just been diving deep into making our own sounds. But I mean, just... It's gorgeous, right? I mean, it's so big. It's so big. I love it. Let's crank the volume up a little bit here. It's so fucking... What I would love to ask you is, how'd you actually get into designing this? Like, how did this come to be? Because this is such a triumph as far as what is possible from a one-man team. Like, how did this become part of the universe that I live in? How did I get so lucky as to exist in the timeline where this also existed? Because it's pretty phenomenal. Phenomenal's not even good enough of a word to describe how blown away I am by the quality of this and how powerful it is. And just like everything works really well in the sense that, you know, it just, what more could you ask for from this? You know, and I haven't even gotten into controlling some things and stuff. I mean, it's so like, for instance, I've got an idea. Why don't we add another filter? Let's see here. Common, we'll go to, we didn't even get into the multi-filter. God damn it. I really want to get into the multi-filter. So, fuck it. Let's get into the multi-filter. We'll delete this one. Okay, so what we're going to do is remove this audio. We're going to disconnect it and run this through one more filter here, right? All right, so when we're looking at this, it's just like kind of standard filter. I'm going to disconnect the reverb for the time being. And then just run this straight out, just so we can hear the sound and the filter, not hear the pitch effects here. Wave Sequencer says, it's a long story, but I asked to design a modular synth for Intel for their interactive experiences using Unity and Unreal. That's crazy. So this actually started as something involved with Unity and Unreal Engine. Is that the story here? Like, this was originally for that? Or is it something else? Do I misunderstand? So we've got all of these different combinations of Jesus, it's so powerful. It's so powerful. So if we go to OB, for instance, right, we've got a blend between these two. So if I have it all the way to the left, we're hearing just the low pass filter. But we could go all the way to the right. Now we have a high pass filter. right? So we could do those sorts of high pass sounds. There's all sorts of stuff. Band pass, notch. I love a notch pad, right? And then the blend is actually a band pass. It's the opposite of a notch. Which is so great. This is more complicated than I need it to be for what I wanted to do here anyways. So I'm just going to delete this node and just get a normal filter in here and drop this in. And so I'm going to just go to, so we could do notch, for instance, right? So oh, it's so good. Well, let's just do low pass here. And so we can really get this sound thick. And then what we're going to do is take aftertouch and route that to the cutoff frequency here. So now aftertouch, I fucked something up. I know what it is. It's because I have channel aftertouch. I don't have polyphonic aftertouch. Oh, I routed it to resonance. I wanted to route it to, there we go. So. Which is super great, but we need one of those data things, data modulators, processors, math and logic. There was something that we used to slow that down. Let's see here. I'd like to just slew that a little bit because it's a little aggressive. Like right now I have not a lot of control over it. Data smoother, that's what I'm looking for. I saw that in the other part here. So where do I find that guy? Where's that data smoother at? Data smoother. Oh, I bet I can search for it, right? So if I just search data in all nodes, there we go. See, I'm learning. I know I'm stupid, but I'm getting there, guys. So we can delete both of these and run this into here and then make sure that's going there. And then in the data smoother, it just can slew the rate. So with the rate all the way down, it should be, I don't have that much control over it, but if I like a really slow slew on aftertouch. Controlling that filter only with aftertouch, you know? If we increase the split off point, we can get really stereo with it, which will be a little too much. Just break it up a little. I want a little bit more of that wave sequence. I mean, talk about some shit right there. Thank you very much, Aquatic. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's figure out how to save a patch real quick. Let's see. Save patch. Let's save it. We're going to call this one We'll call this one... What are we going to call this one? Virginity Lost. Because I just busted it open. Vulture Culture. How do we share patches? Can I drop this patch? If I drop like a Google link, Google Drive link in the comments, can people download this? Collection, notes. My first attempt. And then, you know, wink face, right? Type. It is a pad. Tag 1. It is cold. It is dreamy. Tag 3. Lazy, thin, relaxed, and sparkling. I like my synth patches sparkling. So again, if we just really increase up the dense verb, it'll just get out of control. One of my favorite chord progressions to play is this one. If I want to, let's see here, data modulators, data processors, gain. Where was gain? Gain pan. Let's get one of these in here. Gain pan between the data smoother. There we go. Disconnect data smoother. Oh, that doesn't work. Let's try if I just type in gain in all nodes. Oh, that doesn't work. So I need a per voice data modulator. I was looking just some way to kind of dial back the amount of aftertouch there. Machine Storm says, sounds like a track by Plastic, Sense of Life, or Human Decay. I don't know that one. You have to just find the file in the system file browser and copy it to share. There's no export feature yet, but maybe later. Okay, cool. Doing a pretty good job for someone who just started using Hyperion, but this also speaks to the design and capability of the synth. Yeah, I would say... wait, just click on the input pin. Wait, so let me go back here. On the input pin? I feel silly. Adjust the amount of input on the... Oh, I can just do it directly from there. So when I go to filter, audio in... Oh, I need to put this here to the cutoff. And there we go. So if I bring this down... We got it right around 500 hertz, right? So what is it? The input pin here? See, that adjusts the cutoff. I want to adjust the amount of... Maybe it's this input pin? See the panel at the bottom. Oh, over here? Is this it? There we go. So that just let us kind of dial it back a bit. It was going a little crazy, but oh, that sounds great. What I was going to say, Aquatic, is what makes this so awesome is the design of the plugin. You know, that a simpleton, an invalid like myself, could quickly figure out how to make such a cool patch. Yeah, super great. So I'm going to save it again. Whoa. I don't want to save that. I just wanted to save Virginity Lost. That's something else. This is not my... It's not my thing. Anyways, doesn't really matter. Whoa, I'm really screwing stuff up now. Let's see. I just wanted to see if I could save it like that, but it's no big deal. So what I'll do is I'll drop this patch in the description of the video, and that way if anybody wants to mess around with it, they've got it. But, you know, hats off to you. Whoa! Just ripped the microphone off. Just ripped the microphone off of the headset. That's pretty crazy. Hats off to you, Wave Sequencer. What an incredible plugin. I mean, just nastiness. Super cool. I hope I did it justice, my friend. It was, you know, kind of like a race to see if I could make a patch. And this was like my first time opening up the plugin. I just turned it on to make sure it worked before the stream, but I always try to do these things blind. I would have told you if truthfully I was getting lost. And I'm sure some people who aren't used to this modular way of thinking, and I am no Dubstation Zero. I don't know anything really about hardware modular synthesis, but you know, I can kind of get my head around this part of it, you know, just the simple stuff here. But yeah, I mean, we didn't even get into like the 4-operator FM that's in here and everything, so you could make your own really cool stuff. I mean, it's so deep. But what I like about it is the sound. I like the sound of it. It, to me, can sound really great. Here's a couple of things I forgot to mention, but this is for the vintage synth snobs out there. You can adjust the randomness of the pitch of the start of a note and the drift, so you can get like analog VCO drift in a patch too. This is a very vintage digital type patch, so I didn't feel the need to get into the drift, but these knobs right here I actually found were super useful for helping to get the plugin not to sound quite as, you know, digital as it can be. I mean, like, I like certain sounds to be very digital, like this one. But then if you're going for like the warm analog thing, sometimes you don't want that. And that's where these random and drift knobs can be really helpful. So yeah. Yes, it's really powerful, and to me, there's a lot that this does that it's super quick and fast. And I know that I sort of stumbled through some parts. That's part of doing this live for the first time, but honestly, considering how insignificant my CPU power is up here, I was able to get through it really fast. Like, it wasn't bad at all getting my head around it, and I think it's super cool. You know, when you just have a couple oscillators going into the filter, going into the amplifier with the ADSRs and LFO, it can almost be like, okay, that's cool, but you know, what's going on? I hope you guys can see that within one layer, I haven't even like started layering sounds up, but you can start adding ADSRs and LFOs and oscillators and different you know, different filters. So we've got like kind of 2 different filters here running into the mixer, and then that spits through one more that's controlled by aftertouch, so you just warm up the whole thing through a chorus into an echo, you know, and then we could run it into the reverb. I mean, like, it's just, we can get rid of that echo there and just really, let me turn this down first. I mean, it's just so cool, right? It's so cool. So, yeah. There's also a voice offsets node for Oberon style per voice fixed pan offsets. Yes, I saw that in the manual. So let me go see if I can pull that up real quick. Where is that voice offset? Or is that just in the up here? Let's see. Is it up in this motherfucker? Listen to how I speak. It's pathetic. I know it's in there, and it's in the manual very clearly. I guess I'd have to pull up the manual right now just to find it on my own. But yeah, you can load in stuff where each voice of the synthesizer is panned differently, like you could on an Oberheim, which is super cool. So if I search all nodes for voice, per voice granulator, so we got granular synthesizer. I mean, it's so powerful. It's so powerful. One more question for you, Wave Sequencer. Yeah, we could try things for hours here. It's a playground. It really is a sound box. when you first came out with this, was it more or less like it had all of these functions, or have you added functions like wave sequencing, FM, granular stuff like that as time has gone on? Because this is my first time coming across the synth. To me, it would be pretty shocking to think that this existed, you know, just like that this could have come out basically version 1.0 this powerful. To me, that would be crazy. When I think of like how far a plugin like Omnisphere has come, only in the time I've owned it, which was since Omnisphere 2, I think. It's pretty sick. So I'd be curious to know what you think about that, if that's the nature of things. I need to drink a little bit. Wave Sequencer says, I've added a few effects as time went by, but it's mainly the UI that's been updated since the launch with more visual elements. Well, the UI looks great. It really does. It's I could see how if the UI wasn't quite as good as it is right now, how it could get harder quicker to get into this plugin. Because the UI is good, and that's what makes it feasible to be able to get your head around. If you didn't have that, it could get a little rough. You know, like if it was just all gray, for instance. The color helps a lot. Aquatic says, might be cool if this supported multiple windows so I could put the nodes in one window and the details in another. Oh, that is an interesting point. I didn't think about that. Because due to my streaming setup right now, I've got OBS on this window. So I'm almost always, if I'm doing some sort of stream, focused on one window. But when I'm working otherwise, I often am, you know, doing stuff with a lot of stuff. Let's see. Check out Human Decay's Disbelieve Pagan. Cool tune. I'll be picking this one up. Really cool. Yeah, I heard I've sold one of these already to my friend Grow. He picked up one of these. So really cool. Yeah. Suggestions welcome on the Discord server. Link on the Hyperion site. So I'm gonna pour one more little bit of mezcal here. Can I get a cheers for Hyperion for hanging out with us tonight and making it possible for the stream to exist by being kind enough to send me a link for this guy. I just want to say, I don't know if that sentence came out right. Can we get a cheers for Wave Sequencer for making Hyperion and for hanging out with us tonight? Incredible. Just a really cool synthesizer. I hope more people get into this. And I love supporting developers who are not massive corporations. Now, I have a friend of mine who works for a big synth company, not gonna say who, and they've really treated him like shit, you know? Maybe he's a terrible employee, not impossible, but I've heard all of these stories from him, and you know, it's just the difference of supporting people who are passionate about what they do. I think that's a beautiful thing, and it's the type of thing that... Oh. Just dipped out for a second there. Hopefully you guys can still see me. Yeah, I gotta start. That was on my end. We're almost done. The Yamaha CS70M right up here. Video's coming out on Sunday, 1 p.m. I'll be there in the chat during the live premiere. But it's looking at every way the Yamaha CS70M is better than the Yamaha CS80. Which is a lot of fun to go through, and I came up with, I think, 27 or 28 ways that the CS70M is actually superior to the CS80. So a lot of people know the Yamaha CS80, of course, because of Blade Runner and Vangelis and all of that. But a lot of people don't know about the Yamaha CS70M, and I'm lucky enough to have one in the studio right now. I don't know if I'll always be able to keep it here, too, by the way, guys. But it's right up there. It is giant, 60 fucking pounds. It is so heavy. And mostly the same components as the CS80. The oscillators were improved. That way they could use an auto-tune function, so you don't have to go in and manually change the tuning all the time, which is really great. Machine Storm says, I dig the smaller devs most. Stopped updating the bigger suites. Yeah. Okay, so we're back, everybody. So anyways, the thing is, I'm really excited for this video to come out. It's going to be just over 40 minutes of playing the Yamaha CS70M. as well as discussing the differences between the CS70M and the CS80. Some of the stuff you can do on the CS70M, not quite as complex as Hyperion, but for hardware synth is close, especially from 1981. So, it's going to be a really cool video. Mean a lot to me if you guys would be there hanging out, checking it out, because I put a lot of work. I put more work into this video than any other video I've done, maybe with the exception of the 3-hour Roland D50 tutorial. So anyways, guys, I hope you have a marvelous motherfucking week. Do not let those motherfuckers dim your shine. I'm Vulture Culture. Love and light, bitches. I am out.